Now I decided to write this story because I'm certain I need help. My name is Ashley Turner. I'm 16 years old. My mom, Marianne, and my stepdad, Neil, and I moved recently to a very remote location. It's an almost forgotten village in Colorado. It's approximately 30 minutes away from Creed. I wasn't keen to move, but Neil was sent there by his company, and since he's the provider, we had to accept it. Mom, on the other hand, was very happy to move away from Denver. She always dreamed of moving away. For many years, Mom had a very difficult job. She worked as an exotic dancer. I always knew what she was, and she never hid it from me as the other dancers hide the truth from their kids. But Mom was always honest and told me what she did. Now, she was not proud of what she did, but she was not doing it by choice. It was really the only option that she had. Mom was originally from Aurora, but when she was 16 years old, she left town to be with her high school sweetheart, a good-for-nothing pothead guitarist who convinced her to move to Denver so that his band could take off, but it never did. And of course, Mom got pregnant and had me when she was 17. Now, my useless dad looked after us for about 2 years, but eventually left with some other idiots to try and make it to California. And Mom worked at McDonald's and a few other places for 3 years, but the money just wasn't enough. She had to end up working as a dancer. And now the place where she worked was one of the most expensive strip clubs in Colorado. She earned quite good money, but the more I grew up, the less important money was. All I wanted was to see my mom be happy, and I knew she wasn't in that place. And that's when she met Neil. The way my mom met Neil wasn't the romantic one ever. They met outside the strip club when she finished work. And Neil wasn't a client. He was a man who had seen Mom in and out of the strip club and wanted to help her. And after a few days, Mom accepted to go on a date with him. Mom dated Neil for 3 weeks when they finally decided to get married. And I knew things were too soon, but I don't know. Neil, well, he seemed like a good man, and he did a lot of nice things for myself and Mom. So she no longer needed to work at the club. But the joy didn't last for too long. A couple of days after getting married, Neil let us know we had to move somewhere else. Mom was very excited, and she saw this as our new beginning. I, on the other hand, was very sad I had to leave all my friends behind. But this was Mom's time to be happy, so I accepted my fate and got ready to move. And now I tried to do some research. I tried to find the village in Google Maps, Google Search. Heck, I even gave up on Google and tried Bing. I know. But nothing came out of it. I couldn't find anything. However, you could still see the village on Google Maps, but it's really not under any name. It was this tiny little dot. And when I complained about not finding anything about the village and questioned Neil about why his company sent him to that place, my mom got mad at me, and she told me the decision was already taken. I could tell Mom was afraid of me questioning Neil after all he had done for us. And Neil was nice enough to give me an answer. He worked with a company who created natural medicine, and he claimed that there were some very good herbs unique to that area that could be used for different products. And the answer was fair enough for me. Now, it wasn't easy to move from the city to a village, and it was particularly difficult to leave for another school in the middle of the school year, although a certain part of me was very excited to be the new girl. Plus, I knew my pink hair and my pastel goth style were very out there. When we finally got to the village, I was very surprised by how it looked. It almost felt as if you were in another place, in another period of time. People in the village looked very simple and traditional. The men dressed like farmers, and the women wore long dresses. Neither the clothes nor the houses had much color to them. And right at that moment, I knew maybe that my new hair was not such a good idea after all. As soon as we got out of the car, some kids who were playing in front of our house stopped their game to look at us. Mom, being the friendly person she always was, decided to say hi to them, but they ran away when she got close. And of course, the three of us just simply laughed it off. Our house was old-looking, but I guess it was kind of lovely. Way different to the apartment where my mom and I used to live. And before moving to this house, Neil had told us we didn't need to bring any furniture because the place came with furniture. And all we needed, however. I just didn't expect the furniture to look so old. I mean, even everything around the house was made of wood, including all the furniture. I was the first one to check out the whole house, and Neil had told me where my room was, so I couldn't wait to see it. Although my room wasn't what I expected, I guess it was nice enough, and it was way bigger than the one I had before. And so I immediately put up my posters and all my decorations, when I noticed the word help carved into the wall. And I called my mom and Neil for them to see, but, well, there was no way to know who did it and why. It's a very old house after all, and don't forget, many people have lived here. The house has seen a lot, my stepdad told me. Now Monday finally rolled around and it was time for me to go to school. And I wore some of the prettiest clothes and headed to school on the old bike that Neil found in our basement. I noticed I got some looks on my way to school, although it was hard to tell what people were thinking of me. It was very easy to find my new school. It was only 5 minutes away from my house. And when I got there, I parked my bike and walked towards the door. The school was very little compared to the ones I went to in Denver, but it made sense since it was such a small town. And as I walked through the hallways trying to find the reception, I noticed that there were not many kids around. However, every single soul that was there had their eyes on me. "That's the new girl," I heard some of them murmuring. The kids looked different ages. Some of them looked around my age, but some others looked 10 or even younger. And that's when I realized that this was not just a high school. It was a common school for every kid in the town to go to. And the kids at school all dressed similar. None of them really stood out. It was as if nobody in the village had their own style. It looks as if they were commanded to dress in a certain way. Now I asked a couple of kids if they knew where the reception was, but they ran away from me or just ignored me. Just like those kids who ran away from Mom yesterday. Luckily for me, after that happened, a woman in her 60s approached me. She told me she was the principal and was going to take me to class. And I could tell that she was sneaking looks at me from head to toe. She took me to my classroom, but before getting in, she told me I should consider changing my hairstyle and maybe wearing something more discreet. The lady took me to a classroom where half the people were shocked to see me, and the rest didn't even acknowledge my existence. My first day didn't go as expected since nobody spoke to me. The only good thing about school, or this town itself, was a cute boy who was in my class. His name was Joseph, and I could tell that he liked me. He also looked very mysterious. He didn't seem to have any friends and overall didn't look too happy to be there. That same day after I got home from school and after dinner, Neil gave Mom and I some presents. We excitedly opened them, just to find out that it was just some very plain-looking dresses. They were the same beige and white color the other woman in town wore. Basically, it was the same uniform. Now, ladies, this is the first step to adapt. You wear these beautiful new clothes, said Neil. Mom and I were not so happy about it. We were very content with our styles and had no intentions of changing it. Neil insisted it would make things easier for us in town. But we refused to wear them. I could tell Neil looked quite disappointed that night. I even heard him and Mom arguing until 2 in the morning, but it was hard to make out what they were saying. The next day when I arrived to school, the principal greeted me by the door. "I see you're still looking the same, Ashley," the woman said. "Yes, ma'am. I don't really want to change my look, with all due respect. I don't see why I should," I politely responded to her. "Well, we just want to make things easier for you, Ashley. But if you and your mom don't cooperate, you're not going to go very far." And now, I couldn't understand the meaning behind those words. Was that a threat? I continued with the rest of my school day, but I didn't have much success. I felt like an alien, and as I walked around the school, I constantly heard the kids talking about me and my mother. It's like they knew everything about my family. And after school, I needed some more time for myself. I wanted to explore the village, so I grabbed my bike and went to see what there was. Well, of course, there was not much to see. The town was small, so I decided to explore some more around some mountains where the village was located, when I saw a familiar face. It was Joseph. He looked like he was mountain biking, and he stopped doing it as soon as I saw him. I went to talk to him, but he claimed he was leaving. And I'm not normally the type who begs, but I begged him to stay. I was tired of everybody ignoring me or treating me as if I was a disease carrier. And Joseph listened to me as we sat on the ground, and I started asking him what was wrong with me. "Look, nobody's going to talk to you until you look normal, until you're one of us," he said, and I joked around telling Joseph that he was making the village sound like a cult. I expected him to laugh, but he didn't. I asked Joseph some questions, but he was barely giving me concrete answers. Nevertheless, there were a couple of things he did answer. He was not from this village. He was also from Denver, but he moved to the village many years ago. He also told me he does no longer have parents, but he didn't tell me where he lives or who he lives with. Now at that point, it was getting dark, so it was time to go, but before leaving, Joseph told me something. "It's a little late for some people, Ashley, but for others like you and I, all we can do is adapt. It's not like we have anybody to save us," he said as he left on his bike. And I stayed there for a few minutes trying to think about what he meant, until I looked at the time and noticed that I had to rush home. When I got home, things were very weird, to say the least. When I opened the front door, I was greeted by a group of 10 adults, Neil and the school's principal included. All of them were looking at me very strangely. I couldn't see my mom anywhere. I asked them where she was, and that's when they told me my mom had gone back to Denver to take care of some business related to her old job. However, I didn't believe them. I knew Mom didn't want anything to do with her previous job, and they said she would be back in less than a week. It was all too weird. Why were 10 people there giving me the news? I tried calling Mom the whole night, but she didn't pick up. The next day when I woke up, something even stranger happened. I couldn't find my cell phone anywhere, even though it was right by my side when I went to sleep. When I went to school, I decided to speak to Joseph and tell him what had happened. He whispered to my ear that we needed to see each other at the same place after school, because he needed to show me something. And I noticed he was carrying a little brown bag. We didn't even finish talking when he saw the principal lurking around. He told me to go to her office, and I decided to follow her, but before I did, Joseph put in my hand the brown plastic bag and told me to hide it. So I did. Once in the principal's office, she was there with 2 random bald men with very strange heads. They looked like their mother and sister were the same person. And there was also a lady who seemed to be the school nurse. I knew that lady. She was at my house yesterday. The principal told me that my mom had authorized them to change my hair color and to cut it. I knew that couldn't be true. She then showed me a letter written by my mom saying that from now on, Neil and the school principal were in charge of me. I was very disturbed. Why would my mom do something like that? Where the hell was she? The nurse and the men were trying to take me to the nurse's office to change my hair. But I wasn't as weak as they thought. I managed to break free from those people. I grabbed my bike and went home immediately. And just as I thought Neil wasn't there, I looked at the brown bag Joseph gave me. And, well, what was inside was rather disturbing. There were 3 pictures, and in each picture you could see Neil, a woman and child. Some of the kids I recognized from school. The pictures looked as if they were taken at a wedding. Joseph was in one of those pictures. And that means Neil had married different women. It seems to lure them to this village. But what was the reason? I didn't know. Now I'm writing this while hidden in the attic. I don't know what's going on. And this seems to be a cult. I already messaged some of my friends in Denver and asked them for help, but they're not answering. They're still at school. I just heard Neil and some others entering the house. And now they're screaming my name. Ashley. Ashley, come here. We just want to help you. We just want to purify you. I don't know what that means. They're banging at the door and they know where I am. They're going to get me. I'm going to hide this laptop. And if you find it, tell everyone.